So welcome to our last podcast today, Identity and Voice in the New Language. So we have the leader for the discussion for this session would be Professor Jody Crandall from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and we have the Director of the Regional English Language Office, U.S. Embassy Bangkok, Mr. Damon Anderson. So, and then would be the participant from different university and Thai TESOL president and former president, which are with us and discussing this topic, identity and voice in the new language. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could just kind of start off, Jody, I think this whole concept of voice and identity is very important in a new language. And I often talk about, as a language learner myself, working on new languages all the time, and we're talking with language learners and trying to teach language learners, that both the teacher needs to give the language learner certain freedoms, and the language learner needs to give themselves a certain amount of freedom as well. So it's a two-way street. And I think that there are 5 basic freedoms that language learners need to give themselves, and we need to give them. And the first is the freedom to explore and question. And that's very important. It's not just sit there and take in things, but you need to question it. And I think what we've talked about in some previous podcasts is the concept of culture and questioning why certain things and why people do certain things or say certain things. You need to be able to question and ask those things, both of yourself, of your culture, of the other culture, the materials of the teacher, be able to explore and question. The second freedom is the freedom to experiment. Give yourself the freedom to just get out there and experiment and use this new language and not worry about right or wrong. Just get out there and use it. It's like a sport, you know. If you don't practice it, then you're not going to be very good at it. And so you've got to do this with the language. Even a native speaker has to do this. So it's nothing new. The third freedom is the freedom to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. And we have to learn to laugh at ourselves, and not quite in what we had said in a previous podcast about the Thai sense of smiling and laughing, you know, just as tension, but actually go ahead and enjoy the fact that you made a mistake. We all make them, and it's okay. People will forgive you for most of your mistakes. Hopefully they would forgive you for all of them, but it's okay. You learn from your mistakes. And sometimes you learn better from making those mistakes than you do if you sit there and just try to memorize the rules and practice it in your head. I had one Japanese student once who practiced saying something in her head so much that when she started to talk to me, she said, "So anyhow." And I just kind of went, "What do you mean, so anyhow? Wait, stop. I missed part of your conversation, which was all in her head." You know, so it's okay to make mistakes. And the next freedom, which I think is probably one of the most important, is the freedom of identity. And that's the freedom to express yourself, your thoughts, your words, your feelings in this new language. It's the freedom to embed yourself in this language and to make this language a part of you for your own purposes. Too often, students in the classroom are just memorizing somebody else's words and giving somebody else's words back. And so the language then becomes disassociated from them the whole time. And I think the freedom of identity is to bring the language into you and make it a part of you and who you are. So the freedom to say who you are and what you think. And we've been talking in previous podcasts about expressing your culture, your language, your country, your feelings. And the last freedom is the freedom of effort. Try. If you don't try, you're not going to succeed. So I think that, and I'll leave it with that, Jody.
Oh, no, that's great. In fact, you've just, I think, summarized very nicely one of the things, what we have to try to accomplish in our language classrooms. I think it'd be very interesting to hear from each of you about ways in which you provide your students with this freedom to be who they are and to develop their own voice in English. So often we've had trouble in our classes in which we try to make all of our learners follow the same discourse patterns as perhaps an international journal would use, without recognizing that we also have to make space for them to be able to use their own discourse. So I'd be interested in hearing how you have done this in your classes.